And good morning again. We welcome to the broadcast David Plouffe, architect of the president's election in 2008. Again, last year, a key advisor in the administration throughout. Let me ask you first about this situation in Algeria where this awful terrorist attack took place. We know that there were 7 Americans at that compound, and the reports are 1 is dead. Do you have any more information on any of the others?
I don't this morning, Bob. Obviously, if and when we have additional information, the State Department will release that.
And what about this whole state of terrorism now? Have we defeated al-Qaeda, as some in the administration were talking about earlier?
Well, we have, I think, decimated a lot of al-Qaeda's top leadership, particularly in the Afghanistan-Pakistan region. But I think that what this shows is countries around the world share a common threat. It's why we work so closely with our counterterrorism partners on sharing information and expertise in technology. But it's going to take a global response to this, and it shows that whether it's in North Africa, Yemen, there are real threats out there from terrorism, and we need to stay vigilant, and we're going to work with our allies and our counterterrorism partners as closely as we can.
What do you know about what the Algerian government did in trying to end this? They killed a lot of people. Was this done right, or?
Well, first of all, I think the focus, all of the blame here needs to be on the terrorists, obviously, who committed this act. To use innocent civilians in their twisted aims obviously is a terrible thing. We're obviously going to be working closely with the Algerian government in the days ahead to have a full understanding of what happened. But I think the focus needs to be here on the terrorists who committed this atrocity and understand that there are threats around the world, and we need to continue to be vigilant and continue to partner with our counterterrorism allies to make sure that we are disrupting these networks wherever they are.
I was thinking back about the country. It is deeply divided. Certainly as divided as it was at the end of Jimmy Carter's term, maybe as divided as it was all the way back to 1968 when the country was torn apart by the Vietnam War. What are your priorities as you go into this new term?
Well, the first priority, Bob, is obviously to continue to grow the economy, focused on the middle class and getting people into the middle class. That's the core mission of the country. We've obviously beginning to recover from the recession, but we have a lot more work to do. But if you look at some of, well, yes, we have some political divisions in this country. There's vast support out there for balanced deficit reduction, investments in education and manufacturing, immigration reform, gun safety. So on the issues the president intends to really push and focus on, there's massive support in the country, even amongst Republicans. And so let's not lose sight of that. And that's why we're going to do a better job in the second term of while we're going to do all we can to work with Congress and negotiate, to also make sure the American people are more connected to what's going on here. And because I think to really get the kind of change here in Washington, the American people are going to demand it. But there is real, I think, consensus around a lot of these issues out in the country.
What about the idea that the Republicans have now said that they will go along with a 3-month extension put on the debt ceiling increase? Are you going to be, does that help, or?
Well, it's helpful that they have now dropped their demand that the only way they're going to pay the country's bills, they themselves racked up, would be to extract some concessions. We've got to never again have this threat to the global economy and our economy because Congress may not pay its bills. Now, 3 months is no way to run an economy or a railroad or anything else, so that's not ideal. But there is, so I think it's a significant moment that the Republican Party now has moved off their position that the only way they're going to pay their bills is if they get the correct kind of concessions. Now, where does that leave us? I think we'd all be better served to go back to a little bit more regular order in Congress so we're not careening crisis to crisis. Congress ought to work together and come up with a long-term fiscal plan.
But you see this as a good sign?
I think that they're no longer saying the only way we'll pay our bills is, to have huge cuts to things like Medicare. That's positive. But let's try and get some, listen, you see our economy. Good housing numbers this past week, good construction numbers. I think that our economy is poised to really grow. And we can't have Washington be the hindrance to that. Washington ought to be a help, not a hindrance.
Can you get a gun bill through Congress?
We think we can. It's going to be very, very hard. Obviously, this is a tough issue, as a lot are. But I think if you look at the American people on things like assault weapons, high-capacity ammunition clips, universal background checks, school safety, mental health. Huge consensus on these issues. So we're going to have to spend a lot of time on it. But I think post-Newtown, things have changed a little bit. You see members of both parties thinking about this a little bit differently. And at the very least, I think the American people are going to want us to have a debate and a vote on these things. And I'm convinced that, yeah, are there 60 senators and 218 House members for some of these proposals? I think there are.
All right. David Plouffe, we want to thank you for coming by this morning.
Bob.
Best of luck.
Thank you, sir.